And I'm Jill.
And greetings from Death Valley. In this adventure, we're returning to Death Valley with an agenda of 1. Visiting Hoover Dam, 2. Practicing some night photography, 3. Hopefully we can get some good shots of the Milky Way, and 4. If we're lucky, see some jets practicing in Star Wars Canyon. Approaching Las Vegas, we flew over both the Grand Canyon and Hoover Dam, Lake Mead, and although you can only appreciate the beauty of the canyon's landscape from the ground, viewing it from the air helps you to understand just how large the canyon really is. Also, for this adventure, we did things just a little different. Number 1, we rented an RV to help us make a decision on buying one when we retire, and 2, our buddy Bob joined us. A couple of things on his bucket list are Hoover Dam and the Milky Way. The reservoirs behind Hoover Dam are in the middle of a 20-year drought, and on December 12th of this year, the water level was only at 1,086 feet, or 143 feet below full pool. At 1,050 feet, the dam will not be able to generate electricity, and if the water level should drop to 895 feet, it will not be able to provide water to Las Vegas. Back in the RV, we head north again through Las Vegas on Highway 95 for about 85 miles to Mercury, Nevada. Mercury was built in the remote wilderness of the Nevada desert in 1950 as a secret site for nuclear experiments and testing. It is still being used as a research facility today, and from the looks of the sign, the secrecy continues. If you want to know more about Mercury, check out the links below. Oh, by the way, the sign does say restricted, and I am pretty sure that they mean that. In January of 2019, one trespasser was shot and killed by the sheriff and security of Mercury. My advice, enjoy the friendly town of Mercury from this side of the sign. As it was getting late, we continued on another 50 miles to the little town of Beatty, Nevada, to be near the Rhyolite ghost town in the morning. Since it was dark when we got there, we opted to find an RV campground instead of boondocking it as we had originally planned. We stopped at the first RV park that we came to, which was the Death Valley Inn and RV Park. There was no one at the office, but the sign said, after 5 p.m., park and pay in the morning, and that is what we did. Actually, we stayed a second time during this trip as it was convenient. One of the nights in Beatty, we ate supper at the Sourdough Saloon. This place had a character and a nostalgic atmosphere, like when you were a kid and your parents smoked in the car with the windows up, that kind of atmosphere. But the pizza was good and Bob enjoyed his sandwich. And really, your choices in Beatty are pretty limited. Our first morning in Beatty, we drove just outside of the town south about 2 miles to the Bureau of Land Management, a boondocking site, just to check it out. It is at the intersection of Vanderbilt Road and US 95. There was a pond, some ducks, and most likely very little light pollution at night. If we're back this way in an RV again, we will probably stay here. In 1905, when he was almost 80 years old, Tom Kelly built this house from discarded bottles because wood was scarce and expensive in the desert, but he never lived in it once he completed it. The house was the talk of the town, and Tom offered it at a raffle for $5 a ticket. It was lived in until about 1914, but then in 1926, Paramount Pictures restored the house for use in the silent movie, The Airmail, and again in 1936 for Zane Grey's The Wanderers of the Wasteland, which was also shot in the Alabama hills of Lone Pine, California. We break camp at the Fiddler's Creek RV Park, which is near Furnace Creek, at O'Dark 30, and start out 25 miles to Dante's View to watch the sunrise over the valley, only to find that the roads are washed with mud and gravel from the recent heavy rains. So, using caution, we continue on, climbing the winding mountain road to Dante's View. Once we get to the parking lot, however, the visibility is zero, and it is very cold with very strong winds. So after setting for a while, we figure the weather is not going to clear anytime soon. So Bob postpones his shower, and we start back down the winding mountain road.